as mentioned, it's written in Python, PyML to be exact. I kind of prefer to use that because it makes things nice and clean, because you can use some of the methods attached to each class of object, which, you know, makes it nice. I don't know. I like it a lot more. I definitely recommend it to anyone who's on the fence to try and use it. And I'm using PyCharm here. I'm a recent convert from Eclipse. I was holding on for a while, but PyCharm is really nice. I'd definitely recommend checking it out to anyone. So yeah, just kind of dive right in. So it's a class, and I use a sort of base window class that I tend to. There's a base window class that I've created that I tend to use a lot, just to get a lot of the groundwork done beforehand. I didn't do it in Qt because there's a lot of editing and stuff being done on the fly, and I just felt a little more comfortable using the just regular Maya commands to create the UI. So before getting too into specifics or anything on the script, I just want to mention, like, a kind of philosophy of it, of the tool is, you know, since there are so many dependencies, at the end of anything that has any, like, child dependencies, it just kind of runs the next one, and then this dependency would then run the next dependency. So if I were to update the project, then that updates the category, which in the end updates the type, which in the end updates the asset, and then in the end of that, it updates the body down here and everything, all the functionality here. If I were to just start with changing the type, then it updates the asset, which then updates again the body. So yeah, that's just a quick talk on that. So to just get into you know, the actual window now. If we jump down to this method winEdit, pretty much what this is doing is it's laying out all these boxes and things that you saw before I set the project. If you think back to the beginning of the video. So, you know, it creates the Assets tab and then the Add Edit tab here. And then after that's all done, it runs this function dir latest. And pretty much what that's doing is checking this folder here against the depot, the Perforce depot, to see if anything's either missing or there that shouldn't be there anymore because the project's been deleted. So, you know, it makes sure that the project list is current for anyone who's opening it up. That's the end of the method at that point. But then, you know, if you set the project in the menu there, in the in the project menu here, if you change that, or if you have previously set a project, it saves it saves your currently selected project out to a preferences file. I won't really get into how it does that because that could be a separate video later. But in general, just a quick overview of that is, you know, we have this utility where we can just basically save things out to a preferences file that just saves to the Maya preferences file, like in the user's documents. So we can save a lot of settings fairly easily for any of our tools. So, anyways, either way, at some point, you know, you'll have to change the project. So it just runs this method here, change project, and in the change project, first thing it does is it sets the asset browser in the window. It changes the title to denote the project, just to show things are working. Once it's all filled out, then we'll run the update type method, which is down here. What the update type will do, will go through and populate the menu items and all that, and then say update asset. What update asset then does is goes through and updates all the menus and all that, and then for the currently selected one, it'll run update body, and then update body goes through and basically, since at this point we have the currently selected thing, we go through and set a bunch of variables, and then fill out the body with all the information. We'll fill out this area here with the information that we have for the currently selected object. And then we'll save to preferences the asset selection map from there, which, you know, it'll read the next time it opens. So to go into, you know, just how this whole edit thing kind of works under the hood, I'll just jump down to this method here, start changes. Pretty much the time that this function runs is when you're over here and you say start changes. So what that does is goes through that project folder and make sure that nothing is in use, or rather checked out by someone else. If it is, then it gives you this little pop-up that says it's currently being edited by blank. Well, what it fills out is from this it gets the person who has it checked out. So it tells you who it is, so then you can go over and tell the person to either finish their work or revert or something. I thought about letting multiple people, you know, have access to this stuff, but I realized that would probably cause a lot of problems. Then what happens is it creates this under construction.txt thing, so then if the browser closes or Maya crashes or whatever, it still remembers that you're working on it, and it just basically, when it opens up, it checks for that, so then that way those fields and things will be enabled when you open it back up. If you were to cancel your changes, pretty much what that does is it goes through and reverts everything. And then once that's all done, it disables all of those fields again, and then changes the project back to itself. So then it just kind of, once everything's all reverted, then it rereads itself, and then it removes any cameras that are open in the scene. Any cameras from the preview image, it basically saves those, so then you can remove them. But then if you know, the changes you've made are ones you want to submit to everybody, then you just go ahead and say submit. And first of all, it just gives you a quick confirm dialog to just tell you that it will affect everyone. Ask if you want to continue. If the Perforce comments are left blank, it also gives you another pop-up just mentioning that it's blank, and, you know, that it's good practice to make comments. But if you're intent on being lazy, then you can just go ahead and say okay, go through, and then what it does is it reverts any unchanged files, and then also removes the under construction text file, and then any new files that have been created are marked for add. And then once that's all done, it reads it takes the comments that were read from the comments section in the edit, from the comments field, from the Perforce comments field in the edit section, and then just says submitted using SG asset browser, and then adds the comments at the end. I added this in the beginning just so we can track anything that, you know, might be going wrong with it. So, like, you know, if there's something going wrong, we know what things have been submitted using the browser versus, you know, just P4B. And then once that's done, you just it clears the comments field, the comments text field, and then disables all of the proper things. It encapsulates that all in a try statement, so if something goes wrong, then it just gives them a little pop-up, says submission of changes failed. Looks like I have a typo, that's a little embarrassing. But yeah, it says, if the changes are failed, then find a tech artist, and then it prints out all the errors to the script editor, so then that way we can diagnose what went wrong. And then after that's done, it again, like with the revert, like the cancel command, pretty much then it just removes the camera because there might be some camera hanging out in the scene from the from someone making a new thumbnail for the browser. Finally, just last little bit on the way the edits sort of work. As I mentioned, I make pretty heavy use of change commands. So yeah, with a lot of with most fields like input methods and all that in Maya, as you might know, you can have change commands, so it reads every time it's changed, and then you can run a command through that. So I use that fairly often. So, like, in the case of like edit category, every time the category is anytime the category is changed in the edit tab, then basically it renames the actual XML file and it marks the old one for deletion, and then it actually just at that point adds the file. It doesn't mark it for add yet. That actually happens in the submission phase, but that's kind of how that happens. And yeah, also, so yeah, if I go down to like editing type, though, it's a little different since we aren't dealing with files, we're dealing with the XML. So basically what that does is it gets the new name and it finds the entry in the XML file and then edits the XML file and reparses it, or I don't know what I just used reparse. I'm not sure if it's actually, if the terminology is parse when you're sending it back out, but that's what it does. It basically remakes the XML file with the new thing and parses it out to what it calls too pretty XML. That's not my thing. That's the XML module does that, and then yeah, it opens it and then it writes out the text to it and then closes it, and then it rereads everything. So then that way it kind of just goes through the entire process again, and nothing's kind of left behind. So yeah, that's pretty much that's kind of it in a very long nutshell. I hope this was helpful to anybody or informative or anything like that. I also hope it wasn't too unintelligible. If if it was, kind of out there, really, by all means, tell me. This is kind of my first attempt at all this, so, I'd like to get better at explaining the way some of these things work. So, yeah, don't hold anything back. Let me know in the comments. Yeah, so some final thoughts, probably, kind of post-mortem. Now that this is done, it's been done for a while. I've been kind of adding to it a little bit. At the time that I had started this, I knew that XML had worked previously, so I just went ahead and did that. But there was a lot of initial kind of legwork in trying to get the XML thing to work correctly, and I probably, if I had it all to do again, I probably would have used JSON or JSON, or I don't actually know how it's pronounced. I feel like that's I don't know, I've heard both a lot. But what JSON is, for anyone who isn't familiar with it, is it's JavaScript object notation, and it's a little more similar syntactically to say like a Python dictionary. So I probably would have tried to maybe use that instead, because, you know, if all else failed, I could have just probably done a literal evaluation of it, you know, and kind of brute forced it through if the JSON parser wasn't really working correctly or just giving me issues. But, you know, again, I eventually ended up figuring out XML, but yeah, probably something I would have done maybe a little differently. One other thing that I might like to add, like actually realistically, in the future might be the ability to insert some sort of metadata on a per project basis for this, where you can have it, you know, it would probably be something that you could toggle on and off to actually, you know, stop it from setting manually in here. But anyways, what I'd like to probably do is have something where you can kind of embed some metadata in the project, so then that way, you know, you can do things like have it set your project, you know, just here in Maya, you know, set your current project to something else. Do something like that, or maybe, I don't know, lots of like maybe set some settings for Maya, like, you know, on grid size and all that. I feel like that could be useful to some people to kind of streamline things. So that might be something I try and do in the future, in some future iteration of this. But for now, it's just, you know, it's purely just for asset browser purposes. So yeah, again, I hope this was helpful, and let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Yeah, either in the comments, email, you know. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I want to try and do this a little more often. I've been pretty bad. I've been wanting to start doing this for a while, so this is my first attempt at it, and hopefully it goes fairly well, and hopefully I can make some other ones in the future. Thanks for watching.